that Shaun Nua is rumored to be the next defensive coordinator of the BYU Cougars.
Okay.
Which could be really interesting. A DM from a fairly interesting fellow says that Shaun Nua is likely to be the next defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Do you like that?
I will be honest. I'd have to do my homework on Shaun Nua.
Well, BYU ties, obviously. USC, he's coach at USC right now on the defensive line.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's true. I'm not telling you that's a fact. But if Shaun Nua is your defensive coordinator, are you happy with that? I'm actually happy with that. I mean, obviously, he's a guy that played in the league. Obviously, it's a guy that played at BYU. And he's got extensive defensive line experience in the Pac-12, which you really like. And I think it's very interesting that this is a guy who also coached for load, please. Thank you. He coached the D-line at Navy.
Yeah.
Coached the D-line at Arizona State. Coached the D-line at Michigan. Coached the D-line at USC. Like, he's got extensive experience. He's won a Super Bowl as a player, which I think is huge.
Yeah, I mean, he's got credentials.
I mean, but he's got BYU ties. I think he works.
Yeah. Oh, he works. I mean, yeah, like resume-wise, he works fine. Obviously, like you just said, BYU ties. But I think that let's not get way ahead of ourselves and say, is this guy a good fit? The true answer to is he a good fit is the defensive line going to play better against the run? Are you gonna play a true 4-3 with two eye safeties? Like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, are we actually gonna get man to man? Like, until I see that, then I'll tell you if he's a good fit or not. But just on a surface level, yeah, guy's got experience. He's coached in major programs, obviously Super Bowl. Like, yeah, clearly the guy's got some skill. Clearly the guy knows what he's doing. So I would hope that that's an upgrade.
And I'm just texting with some folks, so I apologize for being distracted. It is interesting to me that it kind of explains the timeline, because a lot of people have been asking me, well, why haven't we heard? And it's odd we haven't heard.
I feel like everyone wants them to just name somebody like tomorrow.
But listen, I think as we talked about earlier in the week, I mean, he knows who he's going to hire. Kalani knows who his next defensive coordinator is. But Shaun Nua obviously has some other things he's got to handle tonight in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're Shaun Nua and you win this game tonight and you go to the college football playoff, are you leaving the team to come be the defensive coordinator at BYU before the college football playoff?
No.
You're probably not.
And you're not announcing that until you're done.
You're probably not. I think it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how all that plays out and exactly what that looks like. But he's a phenomenal hire, and I think he's one of the guys that we talked about earlier this week. I mean, you just cannot, in my opinion, you cannot hire from within on this.
Yeah.
And I know I said this earlier, and again, we're talking about this because we're hearing that Shaun Nua is the defensive coordinator to be at.
Yeah, leading candidate to be defensive coordinator at BYU, which is fine. I agree. You probably didn't want to hire from within on this. You wanted to get some fresh blood in the program. Totally get it. I think that the guy has skill. He's got a resume. But I'm done just saying, oh, yeah, it's a good hire because he won a Super Bowl. Great.
What does that mean?
You won a Super Bowl. That's cool. But can you coach? Can you take a garbage defensive line, a defensive line that had no ability to stop the run, and can you change that both through recruiting but also through coaching? Can you solidify your defense in the trenches? Because that's where it starts. Like, I know all season long we talked about linebackers, and before last year it was safety play and them being lost and being in the wrong spot. Notice we didn't really talk too much about the safeties this year. What did we talk about? We talked about the defensive line and having defensive ends cover the flat, having linebackers missing assignment, Max Tooley trying to do too much, right? So to me, the core issues on the defense right now are stopping the run. If you stop the run, a lot of your problems go away. And so that's why I say, does this guy look good? Yes, absolutely. Shaun Nua looks very capable, a lot of credentials, seems skilled, seems to know what he's doing, seems like a good hire. But I think we do guys injustice when we say, yeah, that's a good hire, before we've even given them a chance to show us what they can actually do.
Yeah, well, one of the guys I'm talking to right now is saying that he's making $565,000 at USC as a defensive coordinator. Whew.
Yeah, well,
Like
you want good talent, you got to pay for it.
That's a lot of money.
And again, this goes right back to all the mid-level changes in the money-making machine at BYU we discussed last week, right? Where you have long-time, loyal, every-year boosters who are pissed, that their widget-making company that they were told would be exclusive is no longer exclusive, and they're leaving the program.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see what he's actually making. That seemed. I mean, is Kalani Sitake going to have the budget to pay Shaun Nua $1 million to be his next defensive coordinator?
I don't know.
I mean, I can't believe. Well, he is only but he is only the defensive line coach, so he's not the defensive coordinator at USC. I think we have to remember that. If he's making $565 at USC, are you going to pay your defensive coordinator $1 million? Because I would guess that's what it's going to take. I don't know what Elisa Tuiaki was making.
Yeah, I don't know,
but
probably not a ton.
Yeah,
comparatively speaking, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. So, report says that Shaun Nua is the next defensive coordinator at BYU right off the top. If that's the case, I'm not reporting that. I'm just telling you that we're hearing that from a pretty good, source at BYU. If that is in fact the case, I actually really like the hire. And my guess is that he fits seamlessly in the Kalani staff. I think it's going to be tough to get him in the next 3 weeks. And obviously this is an important recruiting window. This is an important practice window as well, because you're getting extra practices with the bowl game. You're getting extra recruiting. I think this is an incredibly important time of the year. December and January make or break a lot of programs. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how all that pays out. But it'll be interesting to see exactly where this comes down. The money thing's really fascinating to me. The money thing's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, because it's cumulative. It compounds. Like you haven't had, like, you did the Built Bar deal, but it's not like you've been lighting the world on fire with advertising deals lately. Fresh ones, I mean, right? You've had your base of deals, but fresh ones. And so when you're not bringing in fresh money into the program, you have to figure out, okay, well, just how much can we pay Shaun Nua? Because to be a DC, it's probably going to take $1 million.
Well, and from what I understand, he does not have a buyout. He does not have a buyout at USC. And the belief is that his BYU DC salary would be between $6 and $665.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a pretty good number
for
a defensive coordinator. And of course, now my phone is ringing like crazy. But, it'll be interesting to see exactly how that plays out.
Yeah.
Shaun Nua would be a very good hire.
Yeah, it would be a good hire on a surface level. But I think that, on this topic, in this situation, like, I think that you just have to, this is what I said about the Jazz when they were winning all that game. Right? I feel the same way about this. Yeah, great hire. But does it go from a great hire to an elite hire if he can stop the run? Conversely, does it go to a bad hire if he doesn't do anything, if it was just all paper noise and not actually translating on the field? That same way, I don't think Kalani would hire someone who he didn't believe could perform. So that's what I'm saying. I think this guy has skill. I know this guy has a resume, and he's got experience. But the fact is, in football, it comes down to performing. And I don't want to sit here, or I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, yeah, this is some great hire and then, come fall camp, we're still talking about stopping the run. Like, I hope that we see good recruiting this offseason through the portal. Hopefully there's some NIL traction that comes into the program, and you're able to make some noise. That's what has to happen, especially headed into the Big 12.
Well, the interesting thing is, from what I understand, he was making $435 at Michigan. He was making, and I mean, that makes sense. If you go to USC, you got to pay more for your staff there, because obviously it's Los Angeles. Your cost of living is significantly more. I mean, let's call it $600,000. Let's say he makes $600 at BYU. That's a big raise.
Especially if you can stop the run.
Well, but no.
Like,
think about the financials of that,
Yeah.
though. Seriously, look at that.
Yeah.
We lived in Los Angeles and moved to Utah.
Yeah.
The cost of living, I mean, he can buy a palace for what it would cost to buy a one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles. So the cost of living is significantly less. Obviously, he knows Provo and the state of Utah well. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think this is a very good hire for BYU if, in fact, Shaun Nua does get the job.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good hire. Greg Hawkins says BYU needs to replace A-Rod, but that's just my opinion. I don't think the offense is the problem. I think if we're really looking at Aaron's job, I think he's developed your quarterback now, and a lot of this is a hotly contested bit of conversation. Did Jaren Hall develop because of A-Rod, or did Jaren Hall develop because of John Beck? Well, I don't really care. He developed while he was a starting quarterback at BYU. Did they make the right choice going with Zach Wilson over Jaren Hall? Maybe not. I don't know. But what I know is it's played out very well for the program because Zach was drafted number 2, goes on to the NFL, builds a ton of momentum through the pandemic. Jaren steps in. Now, obviously, last year he was hurt. For part of this year he was hurt. But Jaren Hall is an elite quarterback in college football.
Yeah.
So I think he's done that job. The biggest question here is recruiting the running back position and using the transfer portal because, and again, Tyler Algier is not a guy you recruited as a running back. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Have you done enough to recruit the running back position? I don't know. You have arguably the best wide receiver core in the country. I mean, the talent, their offensive line is very good. I mean, the offense is not the issue.
Yeah.
Your inability to stop the run and be consistent defensively is the issue. You have zero pressure on the quarterback. That's an issue. You can't stop the run. That's an issue. You can't stay healthy. That's an issue. None of those are A-Rod's problems. None of them. I think if you want change for the sake of change, you replace him. I have been told they're not making changes on offense. So, to me, I think A-Rod's fine. Boyd Lake says there you go. A-Rod is fine. He does need help with 4th and short play calling, though. I think play calling has been, and I think a lot of people forget, play calling has been and will always be a team effort.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there you go. That's two people saying that from what I've heard, Monty, it is Nua. It makes perfect sense. Him and Kalani are very, very strong. Their relationship is tight. So
yeah, hey, great. That's great. If it's Nua, that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's a good hire.
It's
He's
a good
got
hire.
qualifications. Great.
Yep. Provo Cougar fan says, Greg, absolutely. So you're all in on replacing A-Rod. I'm not. Brett Burnett says BYU just needs to win because that's all that matters. Starts with good recruiting, then coaching and development.
Yeah.
But I want to make this premise very clear. If you want to beat Utah, and if you want to beat the best teams you face on a regular basis, you can't keep doing what BYU's done. Because how much turnover are we going to have in the strength and conditioning department? It seems like we've had this conversation. I mean, this goes back to 2010.
Do you even live?
I mean, how long are we going to talk about a lack of strength and conditioning cohesiveness at BYU?
Yeah.
How long? Right? It starts, the foundation of the football program at BYU is cracked. And you've got to fix those cracks. And it starts with training. It starts with nutrition. It starts with philosophical things. If everybody's not on the same page, it's the Nick Saban speech, right? If everybody's not in the right seat on the bus, we can't go forward.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, you don't have the right people in the right seats on the bus in Provo.
This is Coach
You don't.
Saban.
Strength and conditioning, defense, nutrition. I think we've talked a lot about the administration. The athletic administration's fine, but the money making operation is a disaster at BYU because there's bad relationships and burned bridges between the money making part and the athletic part. Like, you've got to fix all this stuff, or you're just going to be who you've always been, and that's just not good enough. Boyd Lake says, I would like to see Fessy get his shot at running BYU's offense. He's not an offensive coordinator. I've had this conversation specifically. I think Fessy knows his job and he knows what he's good at. And he's in a place where he's always going to get paid. As long as Kalani's there, Fessy is solid, and he's done a great job with the receivers. a great job. Big Mugamba says having him as DC is a direct shot at fixing the D line. Maybe it misses, but it's the right direction. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
It's a good hire because he has credentials. It makes sense. They have a good relationship. B, it's a safe hire because he has credentials. Like if you hire this guy and your running game gets worse, okay, well, you're not going to sit here and say Kalani's an idiot. Like it's a good hire. Again, assuming, because it's not official. We need to keep saying that. It's not official. But we have information that says it is Nua. It's a good hire, you know? And I think that I truly just believe that BYU is a program that's in a situation that they need to stop talking and start doing. You need to stop talking about how you wanna beat Utah. You need to stop talking about how you wanna go to the college football playoff, and you need to start performing. The transfer portal needs to become prolific for BYU.
And I'm just having a conversation with a and how do I describe it carefully? A pretty high-placed source at BYU that's telling me they have an agreement in a verbal agreement. There's no pen to paper, and their biggest concern is that Lincoln Riley's going to try and keep Shaun Nua, and that he'll be able to pay him more than BYU can pay him. I don't know that the money's the issue. I think Shaun wants to move up. I mean, he's been a defensive line coach now. He's been at some very big programs. So I think he wants to move up and have more responsibility. And frankly, you're going into the Big 12. Shaun Nua being the defensive coordinator at BYU is a big step up.
Yep.
That is a big, big step up. But I don't think that this is Elisa Tuiaki like friends of the program. Coaches hire those people that they have relationships with. And I think Shaun Nua's resume, and by the way, the fact that he played at BYU makes a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is he a member? I don't know if Shaun Nua is a member of the church or not.
I'll look it up.
Not that it matters, because he does not have to. I mean, Ed Lamb is not a member of the church. Not that it matters, but I'm just curious, talking off the top of my head there. Brett Burdett says, pays a lot of money, doesn't mean much, just means overpaid. In my opinion, they lose. I don't know about that. Got to apply the cost of living rule when looking at LA salaries. $565 doesn't add up to what it does on the Wasatch Front. Exactly right. Exactly right. Tuiaki made north of $300,000. As it was described to me, Tuiaki was making $400,000 at BYU. The Big Magamba says, even if it's the same salary, it's still a 40 to 60% increase moving to Utah. Correct. Brent Burnett says, Monty's like a fifth grader distracted with his phone. Well, there are times where you need to be distracted by your phone. Boy, there's just more people assuming that Shaun Nua is getting that job. So Utes have an NIL problem. Not anymore, by the way. There's some stuff coming.
Cooking, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. Is Nua coaching right now? Yes, he's the D-line coach at USC. So I think that's good. Greg Hawkins says, can BYU hire Clay Helton? Stop it. Greg? Why would you bring up that name on this show? Why would you bring up that name?
No, call me crazy. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Hey, Jake, you're crazy.
I'm going to go out on a limb. Clay Helton's not a great fit for BYU. Oh, my God. Is anyone surprised?
I don't think they are. John Beck has been the key. I would agree with that. Can BYU pull John Beck into the program? I don't know why he would leave his gig.
Yeah,
he is. I don't know that it's close. Him and Tom House have the best throwing practice in the country.
Yeah.
If you're a quarterback of any note, you go to John Beck and Tom House. It's not close.
If you guys ever want to kick it, we'll flow.
Not close. Jeremy Sevier says BYU needs to make hires with upcoming talent from P5 programs that have and have them here 2 to 3 years. BYU is a stepping stone program in the coaching realm. Jeff Grimes is an example of this. Well, I don't think Jeff Grimes used BYU as a stepping stone. I don't. That's not how I would categorize that. The real issue is people just want wins. Just win and all problems are solved.
Yeah, well, can't win if you can't stop the run.
Yeah, I agree. And Tom wants to know who BYU plays this week. It's not nice. They play in 2 weeks in their bowl game, which will probably be New Mexico, which is terrible. The New Mexico Bowl is not good. I mean, I think, again, there are reports that Shaun Nua has been offered and has agreed to become the next defensive coordinator at BYU. We'll see how true those are.
Yeah.
The people that are telling me that are pretty good. I know that like reaching out to, I'm waiting to hear back from USC guys that I know. but then I got to talk about the game tonight, and I just don't want to hear about it. USC people are so just unbelievably unenjoyable to speak to.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
Fight on. Yeah,
Fight
it's SC. It's SC. We're the
Fight
best.
on.
Everything's
Fight
amazing.
Fight on. Wow, look at that. 3 texts at the same time.
Wow. You're a popular guy.
I am. Well, and I'm good looking. I'm
Right.
absolutely good looking. My USC guy says they're renegotiating his contract, from what I understand. He spoke to the Alumni Association last week and was passionate about not going anywhere. I don't know. Is Shaun Nua using BYU to get more money?
Kalani would never do anything like that.
You know, I think Kalani may have. He did do something like that.
That's exactly what Kalani did.
It's exactly what he did. You know, it's interesting. It's been very quiet in Provo. It has been very quiet in Provo.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see exactly what, what goes on in with this hire. Because Lincoln Riley's not going to let Shaun Nua just walk away. Now, granted, their defensive line has not been great, let's be honest, but Lincoln's been there half a year.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially 6 months. So you would expect that to improve this recruiting cycle. But, we'll just see. Shaun Nua is without question a great hire. But if he's telling what else is he going to tell the Alumni Association?
He's working on both, dude. That's what I'm saying. Again, that's what I'm saying. Let's not get too far ahead of it. Right?
Yeah,
let the guy finish this season, and then let's see if they hire him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I mean, the Kalani thing's very interesting.
Yeah, Kalani did the same thing
with Washington.
Him and Shaun have a good relationship, and it wouldn't surprise me if coaches help coaches.
Yeah.
By the
way, I think we led the news cycle on Kalani in Washington.
Yeah.
And these same people that I'm talking to at BYU now are the ones who told me what was happening with Washington. So,
there you go.
I think it's I think it's interesting. I do. So there's your story right there. Maybe, maybe not. Nothing on paper. So just to recap what I've been told, Shaun Nua has agreed to become the next defensive coordinator at BYU. But he is, my guess is that Lincoln Riley's going to offer him more money to stay, because I know that Lincoln likes him. But I think obviously Shaun Nua's candidacy and his resume is that he played at BYU. He has got a laundry list of stops as defensive coordinator, including obviously USC, Michigan, amongst others. He is a guy that has a very good relationship with Kalani Sitake. And if you buy into the news cycle that BYU has let go of most of their defensive staff, which again, somebody else just told me that, as we told you the other day, most of those guys have been let go. The question is, if that's the case, who's coaching the bowl game?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's an issue as well. You have a bowl game coming up, and I think Harris LaChance told us it was December 17th.
Yeah.
So what is that, in 15 days? So 2 weeks from tomorrow. So we'll see exactly what happens. I don't think that Shaun Nua is going, especially if Utah loses this game, I don't think that you see Shaun Nua leaving anytime soon from USC. I don't. But that's just me. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Josh Lovren says, Boyd, the Jets and Mike White's team now. Yeah, that's done with. Because I see. Boyd Lake said, John Beck is needed in the Meadowlands. Zachy Poo needs his help. He does. That ain't no joke. Most fans in California teams are not fun to talk to. Main reason I cannot root for any of them from that state. And some of my closest friends are massive USC fans.
Yeah.
My guy Chad is, oh my God. We bet Carney's Hot Dogs in Los Angeles on Notre Dame USC every year.
Yeah.
Every year. And he's actually a great SC fan. But I probably know half a dozen people that are really tight with that program, that spend their money on that program. And they're just, it's brutal to talk to them about USC football.
Yeah.
I love talking to BYU fans. I think Ute fans are some of the most passionate fans. Notre Dame fans are awful.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. Riley O'Brien. Hey, random question for you guys that I understand might need some thought, but what is the single best sporting event you have each been to, and why? Can be as a fan or a media member, single best event. Well, this is not difficult for me. I think it is only because Jake was there with me.
Yeah.
2006 St. Louis Cardinals. clinching a playoff spot. Scott Spezio hit a bases clearing triple and hit it right in front of us at Busch Stadium when I worked for the Cardinals in St. Louis. Being in that moment was better than they went on to win the World Series. That moment was better than the moment they won the World Series. It was just the energy in that building, that moment in time. Now, there are some other ones that come to mind. I was standing on the baseline when Kobe threw that alley-oop to Shaq against Portland to come back and knock off the Blazers in the Western Conference Finals. Watching Kobe hug the championship trophy in the Laker locker room and crying was one of the great moments.
Yep.
I mean, because I've worked in sports for so long. I've been to Super Bowls, Final Fours. You name any sport, I've seen a Stanley Cup championship in person. But man, it's probably that moment in St. Louis because again, Jake was a kid.
Yeah.
And just sitting there with him, having brought him there. Although there was a moment when you were a little kid, probably 2000, you like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I brought Jake to Wrigley Field and was on the field when Sammy Sosa was in his heyday. And Sammy Sosa walked right up to Jake, and Jake was like, whoa. Like, wouldn't even talk to Sosa. It was incredible. It was a great moment. So I have moments like that. But like just being at games, I'm kind of desensitized to it.
Steven Gerrard's slip at Liverpool.
That might be the one.
Yeah.
That's it. I forgot about that.
I mean, standing in the box as the only two people who were Chelsea fans at Anfield watching Steven Gerrard fall. And then Chelsea takes it down.
Demba Ba.
Yeah, Demba Ba takes it down and, scores. Like it just was an incredible moment.
I think that is the
and you don't understand the atmosphere in the English Premier League unless you're in person. You just don't get it.
And I'm a huge Chelsea football fan. That is my team. And so a good friend of ours, formerly Wayne Scholes, is a box holder at Anfield. And so he said, hey, why don't you come over and see Chelsea-Liverpool? I was like, all right, cool. And at the time, Liverpool were marching to the Premier League Championship. And the drought was going to end, and yeah, like there was celebrations, and before the game, when the Chelsea, let's see, wow, interesting. I'm going to confirm that. So we're at Anfield, and before the game, all of the Liverpool fans are on the street. And the Chelsea bus is showing up, and they're throwing things at the bus, and they're chanting, we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. And Jose Mourinho was the manager at Chelsea at the time. And he went into Anfield that day, and he just basically played all 11 behind the ball. Like, they were all just parked. It's called parking the bus. And Steven Gerrard, who's arguably the best Liverpool captain ever, the ball is coming to him, and he slipped. And we had a forward, Demba Ba, number 29, I believe at the time, who just blazed past Gerrard, who slipped again. Went in one-on-one, scored the goal. Chelsea won the match. Liverpool didn't win the league. And Jake and I are the only ones. Like they were worried about our safety, so we could not wear blue. We could not wear Chelsea colors because we were in a box at Anfield. And we just erupted. It was unbelievable. And the place was silent.
Yeah.
And Jake and I are in the front row of this box, like hugging and jumping up and down, celebrating Chelsea's win. Wasn't it? That's yeah, I think that's it right there. I think that's it. That's it right there. And excuse me for looking at my text.
Yeah, no, I mean that was a great moment. I think, sporting moments are,
Oh wow. So 2 people sent me the exact same text. Not exactly word for word, but from a source who works directly at BYU Athletics. We have made significant changes on defense. Ed Lamb is out, as well as Clune and Hadley. Had to be done. The defense was absolutely a problem. And Harvey Unga could no longer be tolerated. Their issues just were too loud to ignore. And as you've said every day, I feel like for the past 8 weeks on your show, The entire strength and conditioning staff has also been replaced. So take that for what it's worth. Now I've missed like 3 calls. We've told you. I think we titled the show earlier in the week, "Significant Changes Are Coming to BYU."
Yeah.
And again, this morning, reports are that Shaun has been offered the job and accepted the job as defensive coordinator at BYU.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And there were a lot of people earlier in the week talking about Ed Lamb being promoted. I just didn't think that was an option. It's not surprising. Let's be honest. It's not surprising.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see exactly how all of that played out. And how all of these changes at BYU played out. I wonder if most BYU fans feel like a sweep was needed on defense. Because I think for certain, when you have that many changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think people knew that there were changes need to be made, and we've been saying changes need to be made for, halfway through the season. I can remember talking about firing Tuiaki since, since
Oregon,
October? I think, So I mean, we've been talking about that for a long time. So it's not surprising. I think they need to make a lot of these changes official, and then I think it's a big deal. Like
Kevin Clune's a little. I don't obviously I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not in the room every day. But Kevin Clune is a guy that I think had real value. I think the linebackers, they just couldn't keep their linebackers healthy.
Yeah.
And they asked him to do too much. I mean, that really
That's what
is
it came down to.
That's the bottom line. I mean, Preston Hadley was going to fall on the sword because they couldn't pressure the quarterbacks. They couldn't get in the backfield. They couldn't stop the run. I mean, when your job is defensive ends, I mean, you're going to pay with your job on that. But it is Ed Lamb's not surprising at all. I mean, their special teams are terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if the thing that I wonder about, did Kalani want to make these changes?
Maybe not, but it's not really up to Kalani. Kalani had to make these changes.
I would agree with that. Kalani had no choice but to make these changes.
Yeah.
And these are foundational, significant changes, which is, to me, was very necessary. And, if you're going to make a foundational change, in your life, you should absolutely do that by going to trydaytrading.com/Monty. I mean, that's how you make foundational changes. Get off the side hustle train, friends. Stop struggling to, afford Christmas and birthdays and vacations and car payments. If you're sitting here today listening to the show and you ask yourself, well, how am I going to afford my credit card payment this month? Am I going to be able to get my wife that Christmas gift that she wanted? Are we going to go on a vacation? If you're asking yourself, can we afford a vacation in 2023? You know the answer already.
Yeah.
You need to get to trydaytrading.com/Monty and watch a free webinar. There's no obligation. Obviously, it's free, so it costs you nothing. trydaytrading.com/Monty. I mean, here we are with, let's call it 10 working days left in the year.
Yeah.
If I said to you, you could make $10,000 in those 10 working days. And if I said to you, are you going to make $10,000 in the next 10 days? If you have to think about it or your answer is no, trydaytrading.com/Monty.
Yeah.
Because there are people every day that have been through the Tri-Day program that are making $1,000 a day trading. There are people every day, even hundreds of dollars. Those guys every day make hundreds and thousands of dollars day trading every single day. And I think it's incredibly interesting that you have a situation where you can do that. You can be that guy who can make $1,000 a day, but you got to take that first step.
Yeah.
So stop making excuses. Stop breaking promises to yourself, because I can tell you right now, sure as I'm sitting here, the best way to erode your life and your relationship with yourself is to lie to yourself. Don't make New Year's resolutions. Take New Year's action today. Go to trydaytrading.com/Monty and just watch the free webinar. And again, as a testament to what they do and how well they prepare you to be a prolific day trader at trydaytrading.com/Monty. When you start trading, your first trades are not done with your own money. It's done with trydaytrading.com's money. If you make money with their money, they're going to give you 50% of the profit.
Yep.
It's that simple. They're so confident that they can make you the best day trader in the business. They're going to give you their money to trade with. At trydaytrading.com/Monty. Make sure that you go and watch that. So a little more color on Shaun Nua at BYU. He is, in fact, negotiating, I think, against each other with USC and BYU, because this is the third person now telling me that Lincoln Riley is trying to keep Shaun Nua at USC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So-
I know several people are telling us that there's a verbal agreement, but I don't believe that until the guys sign the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, this is a great hire. Dude's at SC. Dude's got Lincoln Riley in his office. Do you really think that Lincoln Riley can't get some boosters to get together $1 million a year? You really think he can't do that?
Yeah, I think the thing that's very clear is that Shaun Nua is valued in USC circles.
Yes, he is.
That is very clear.
Now, I think quality of life and the off the field stuff, massively valuable.
And that's why I asked if
Yeah.
Shaun Nua is a member of the church, because I think
I couldn't find it. I'm not sure.
if Shaun's a member, I think that helps, obviously, at BYU.
Yeah.
Because it speaks to the quality of life. I mean, being a member of the church living in South Central Los Angeles, which is where USC is, versus being a member of the church living in Provo, Orem, Lehigh, like that area, is a very different way of life. I mean, those are two diametrically opposed things. And Shaun knowing the lay of the land at BYU, Shaun knowing the lay of the land as a player, as a coach, as an NFL player, as a Super Bowl champion, to be able to lend that knowledge to guys, to be able to recruit with that knowledge, that's something not how many people that have coached at BYU can say, hey, I'm a Super Bowl champion. Come play for me at BYU and we can put you in the league. How many people can say that? And when you look at Shaun, the relationships that Shaun has in the game of football, and again, another person saying Lincoln Riley is trying to keep Shaun. That's every USC person that I reached, and not accidentally. That's every USC person I reached out to replied with, they're trying to keep Shaun Nua at USC. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Roger Dodger says South Central LA scares you? No, not at all. South Central LA doesn't scare me at all. My point in saying that is that the lifestyle of an LDS member in South Central Los Angeles versus Provo, Utah are two completely different things. Look, I lived in Los Angeles. One of the best relationships I have at USC, and I should reach out to him actually, is Lawrence Jackson. And Lawrence Jackson's a South Central guy. He's an Inglewood guy.
Yeah.
So there's no being scared of South Central Los Angeles. The point is that when you're talking about lifestyle, when you're talking about the fact that, if rumors are correct, that Shaun Nua currently makes $565,000 as a defensive line coach at USC, if they're bumping him to $700,000 to be the defensive coordinator at BYU, that's a significant raise. He's essentially making $1 million at USC at that point.
Yeah.
Because of the cost of living. He's a family guy. I mean, it all of it adds up. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah.
I just don't think I don't. There's no fear. There's no fear in South Central. Oh man, the bots are in the chat.
Well,
The bots are in the chat.
that's unfortunate.
It is, but I'll get rid of them. You know.
Yeah.
I'll hide them from the channel. We'll do it. Everybody that's here right now, all 106, please go ahead and give us a like. It really does help the channel grow. If you are not subscribed, don't forget, as a member of this channel, we are going to give you the opportunity to come and see a Utah Jazz game with us against Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs in January, but we got to get to 9,000 subs
Yes.
by the end of the year. So we just have, 29 days to go.
Yep.
And right now, this morning, we're at 8,100. Wow, look at that, 8,168. So we have had a pretty good growth there. So go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We appreciate that very much as well. A couple more, and then we got to get out of here today. Roger Dodger says, I wish Nua luck. The goal is to move up in the coaching jobs. Absolutely
Totally.
it is.
Yeah, totally.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Roger Dodger also says San Diego has a great temple. It does. But there are temples on every corner in this town.
Again, it's culture.
Yeah,
man.
it's just a culture
like
thing.
it's not an issue at South Central. It's just a culture thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Kurt Meyer says, how many likes? Right now we have 114 likes.
Nice job.
So we appreciate
nice
that,
job.
you guys. Brett Burnett says, cheerio. The Big Mugamba says, apparently he is, or at one time was LDS. Sitake helped him get a scholarship to BYU. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So we'll see what plays out. Again, the late-breaking news this morning on the show is that sources have told us that Shaun Nua has been offered and has verbally accepted the job as defensive coordinator at BYU. We are also told that USC is working behind the scenes to try and keep Shaun. We were told that he talked to booster and alumni groups this week and said that he loves being at USC and he's not going anywhere. We'll see how all that plays out. But also multiple sources have told us that significant changes have been made on the defensive staff. I don't know, and it'll be interesting to see what happened with Harvey Unga, because I am told that Harvey Unga is no longer with the program.
Yeah.
So there is something more there, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what comes on about that. Don't forget to join us back here Monday morning. We'll have a full recap of the Pac-12 championship game for you. Make sure tonight when you are watching the Pac-12 championship game, you get Papa Murphy's Pizza. Download the app right now. Use the promo code Monty25 to get 25% off your purchase of $25 or more at Papa Murphy's Pizza. And as always, the Monty Show is presented by the Advocates. Find them online, theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, without a doubt. The Advocates. Jake?
Good show.
Good week, my friend.
Way to have sources.
My pleasure and appreciation doing this show with you every day.
Yes.
Until Monday, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.